first and goal at the 2-yard line for the Packers.
Majkowski with some pressure on a quarterback draw, and he's got a first down and a touchdown.
I knew they were going to run that play, Jim. I just knew it, and he walked into the end zone. What a play by Majkowski.
After winning the quarterback job in preseason, Don Majkowski's dazzling sleight of hand had Packers fans singing a new song as the Magic Man cast his spell over NFL defenses.
Come on, offense, let's go, baby. We need it, we need it.
In 1989, Majkowski threw for over 4,300 yards and 27 touchdowns, the second highest totals in Packers history, and also emerged as the team's #2 rusher. Majkowski blossomed within Infante's multiple system and was consistently able to find the second and third receiver. And it was Majkowski's rock and roll looks and style that gave the Packers offense its personality.
Come on now. Come on, Magic.
Now, here's your host, Roy Firestone.
Hello, everybody. They call him the Magic Man, and he earns his living in winning time. There is something special about him. He is a can-do guy, loves to play. He's a wizard passing the ball, the kind of player that makes his teammates just a little bit better. That's why they call him Magic. From the start of his career, he had a penchant for prestidigitation. Just the fact that he's earned a spot on an NFL roster seems to be the stuff of sorcery. He was the 255th player picked in the 1987 draft. Not exactly an engraved invitation, but just 2 years later, he is a Pro Bowl quarterback who has presided over the rebirth of the Green Bay Packers. Note this, that he had more touchdown passes than Montana or Boomer Esiason, more yards than Jim Everett, fewer interceptions than Dan Marino, and only Randall Cunningham rushed for more yardage as a quarterback than Don Majkowski. I want to talk about a very...
He led the entire league in passing yardage, and he led his team to 10 victories. Green Bay's best season since 1972.
Come on, Magic. Come on,
on 4th and goal from the 14. Majkowski looking, now stepping up, on the run. He's going to have to throw in the end zone. Throw it on, and touchdown! Sterling Sharp! He caught it!
For further review, we have a rehearsal.
We knew the team was better. I knew that I was better, and I knew that we finally understood the system. So we had just an enormous amount of confidence in ourselves that no matter what the situation was in the game, we could come from behind. It puts a lot of pressure on me to be Magic all the time, but I like the challenge, and as long as I can continue to make a few Magic plays now and then, it's a fun little thing.
In addition to the title games and those inundated with snow, sleet, and mud, there are a handful of games at Lambeau Field that are simply unforgettable. It is against this backdrop that the Bears came to Lambeau Field in November of 1989. For the Packers, this was a magic season, as in Don Magic Majkowski. Majkowski and his magic would be required in this game. The Packers had lost 8 straight games to the Bears, and it appeared as if it might become 9. A disappointed Majkowski had turned the ball over twice in the 4th quarter. But there would be one more chance to be the hero. It came on 4th down with only 41 seconds to play.
Majkowski with the snap, back with some time, looking, now stepping up, on the run. He's going to have to throw in the end zone. Throw it on, and touchdown! Sterling Sharp! He caught it, and he threw it in between 2, and what a throw by Majkowski with 32 seconds to go in the game.
Lambeau Field erupted and then fell silent as Majkowski was flagged for crossing the line of scrimmage. Instant replay was in its infancy
That ought to be a
and would now be called on for a towering decision. Referee Tom Dooley would break the silence with words Packer fans will never forget.
After further review, we have a reversal.
That was definite. The fans cheering and yelling and screaming and hugging and listening to all that. Wow, it was amazing. The Magic Man, there is no telling what he could have done had he been able to stay healthy. Had he been able to stay healthy, and you can say this about, Trent Green and St. Louis, had he been able to stay healthy, you may not have ever heard of Brett Favre. I mean, the thing that hurt him was tearing his rotator cuff where he lost some of his zip, and I think most importantly, he lost his confidence to be able to make throws. And then, after watching what Brett was able to do, that probably hurt more than ever. But let me tell you, there was, you can talk about Brett Favre in the clutch, and, I got a chance to play with both of those guys kind of at the height. Or, Brett took off to another level after I was gone, but playing with both of those guys playing at pretty high levels, I mean, wow, the Magic Man got it done. He got it done in a way that was, they both got the same job done in two totally different ways. If you watch Brett run around, it is the ugliest scramble buy time you could ever imagine watching him try to buy time for a play that he makes in the end zone. Don was cool. Don was the Marlboro Man. Don was the Lone Ranger. Don was little Joe Cartwright, because he was just real smooth with how he scrambled and what he did. He was big in palming the ball in one hand. He didn't have a bullet, but he would make the throw that, he was just, it was funny, you mentioned that. They got the same job done, almost identical, but two totally different ways. One was very ugly, but was highly successful, and Brett, and the other one was extremely beautiful to watch. But it's like Michael Jordan, you see everybody dunk a basketball, but you think nobody dunks it like Mike.
Hey everyone, I am here in Green Bay, Wisconsin at Lambeau Field, home of the Green Bay Packers and the Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame. I'm here to let you know what it's like to be a Packer fan and to show you exactly what Don Majkowski meant to the Green Bay Packers and the Green Bay Packer family here in Wisconsin. You look like a Packer fan.
Oh, yes.
Is this your getup for every Sunday?
I got my green and gold, yes.
It's very sharp. So you've been a Packer fan probably all your life?
All my life.
All your life. How long have you been a Packer fan?
All my life. Since you're born? Yep, since I was born.
Since we were born.
Since ever.
Yeah. It's inbred. It's part of being a Wisconsinite. Yeah.
Yes. You back the pack.
Cheese, beer, brats, Packers, they all go together.
Who is your favorite quarterback besides Brett Favre and Bart Starr?
Lynn Dickey.
Who was the quarterback before Brett Favre?
He had a mullet.
Do you remember Don Majkowski?
Not at all.
You do remember Don Majkowski?
Not a single thing.
Okay, who is your favorite quarterback besides Brett Favre, Bart Starr, Lynn Dickey?
Don't know.
Do you know who Don Majkowski is?
Heard of him. Yeah, I do.
You do, really?
Yeah, I don't know much information about him or anything.
Your mom probably knows who he is.
Or my dad. Oh, your dad.
Who was the quarterback before Brett Favre?
Majkowski.
That's my husband.
All right.
You guys like Brett Favre?
Yeah.
Is he your favorite?
Probably.
Do you guys know who Don Majkowski is?
Yeah.
You do?
He's your husband.
Yeah, but do you know who he is?
He's the Magic Man, his nickname.
Wow, how do you know that? Did your dad tell you?
I sort of learned it, and he signed my hat.
He did? Where did he sign your hat? At FanFest?
He signed my hat at the game, the Chargers game.
He's a pretty nice guy, isn't he?
Yeah.
All right, guys, thanks. Who is your favorite quarterback besides Brett Favre and Bart Starr?
Don Majkowski. The Magic Man.
Who do you think I would claim as the next quarterback? The Magic Man himself, Majkowski. There was room for the only one Magic Man in this town, and that was me. He had a goal, but he's a good guy, though.
Did you hear anything about him?
His nickname was Magic.
Do you know why?
Because he performed magic on the field.
Well, I think that's the Packer that my mom made out with.
Besides Bart Starr and Brett Favre, who would you say was the most exciting quarterback that the Packers have had?
Don Horn.
Oh, come on, the Magic Man. Majkowski.
Oh, yeah, Majkowski.
Think of the last guy that had all of the come-from-behind victories for the Packers. Yep. Don Majkowski.
Oh, Magic. Majkowski.
Majkowski?
Majkowski. Okay, close.
What do you remember most about him?
He came very close to the last play, which won the game on the line of scrimmage, and they called him the Magic Man, and he was very cute.
Instant replay where they came in, it was like the first or second year they had the instant replay. They came in and he scored the touchdown.
Yeah.
It was instant replay, yeah.
That's right, that's good.
What's Don doing now besides marrying a babe? That's what I want to.
That's about it. Okay, do you remember the instant replay game?
Oh, yeah.
Were you guys here?
I wasn't here for that one.
Not here for that one.
Do you remember where you were?
Oh yeah, exactly. I was watching it at home, but I remember exactly the time when Sterling Sharp caught the pass, and I remember.
I was at a party at my boss's house, and we were all screaming at the TV for about 5 minutes there. It was.
Do you remember Don Majkowski?
Sure.
What do you remember most about him?
He was handsome and good looking.
Good answer. Do you remember him as a quarterback?
I just remember the mullet.
Don Majkowski's a cool guy, and he definitely brought a lot of life to the franchise in 1989. I think he was second in the MVP voting that year to Joe Montana, and he's just been a real nice guy to all the fans for all the years, and everybody loves him around here. He's still a hero.
Well, guys, as you can see, it's starting to rain, and my hair means a lot to me, so I'm going to call it a day. But as you can see, there's still a lot of Packer fans out here. They're all out here. They're diehards. Getting ready for the big game. I hope this gives you a better idea of what it's actually like to be a Packer fan and what Don Majkowski actually meant to the Green Bay Packers. So I hope you enjoy the next part of the video you're about to see, and have a great time tonight. Thanks.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Y'all ready for this?
And now it's time to begin our trip to immortality for Don and Edgar. We begin with the Magic Man, Don Majkowski. And he truly did bring the magic back to Green Bay. Among his many accomplishments, he owns the 5th most passing yards in team history, over 10,000 yards over 6 seasons. He has the 3rd best single-season passing yardage. Remember that magical 89 season, 4,318 yards. And he has the 2nd lowest percentage of passes intercepted over his career, behind only Brett Favre. Someone who knows him very, very well is his wife, Kelly, and she's here tonight with us for a special personal video tribute to Don Majkowski. Kelly?
This is so amazing. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. You are truly witnessing a dream come true. Now, Don is a lot more comfortable being up here. Hand him a microphone, give him an audience, give him the opportunity to talk about himself. He'll do just great. Me, on the other hand, I feel much more comfortable just standing behind Don holding his hand, and just being proud to be there. So when this amazing honor came to him, I knew I wanted to be a part of it. But me not being so good at this whole thing, but a bit of a whiz on the computer and some video editing, I came to Don and I asked him if I could do a video presentation for him. And him knowing me well, he hesitated. You see, I tend to become a bit obsessive over my little projects. Little projects turn into big projects. I tend to blow everything out of proportion. After 2 months of begging and promising I wouldn't go over the 5-minute limit, he finally agreed. I just feel Don and I have been blessed with so many things, but one in particular stands out for me tonight. God blessed us with having us meet when we did. We were able to share all these great Packer moments together, as friends, as boyfriend and girlfriend, and as a couple. And now as husband and wife, for it to come to this evening, and for me to be here to share it with him, is such a gift. I'd like to thank the Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame for celebrating Don's Packers football career with this incredible evening and this great honor. And I need to thank the board of directors for allowing me to go over the 5-minute limit a lot. So Don has not seen this video presentation that I have created for him. You will be joining him for the very first time. Don, thank you for letting me share this awesome, awesome ride with you. I'm so proud to be here with you. Please join me in viewing the story of Don Majkowski from the eyes of a girl from Wisconsin. Right around the time Bart Starr and the Green Bay Packers were winning their 5 world championships, Don Majkowski was born. Unforgettable. He was born to a very proud Fred and Geraldine Majkowski on February 25, 1964. Even as a very little boy, there were similarities to the man who came to be known as Magic. Don began walking at age 8 months, and he quickly learned to escape from small places magically. It looks like he had an obsession with his hair right from the start. Don grew up in a middle-class neighborhood of Depew, New York. Like most kids, he palled around with his buddies, tormented his little brother Gary, and even started his own rock band. Get your motor running. Don started playing Little League football when he was 9 years old, always being concerned about how his hair and uniform looked. In the early 80s, Don became a multi-talented 4-sport athlete at Depew High School. His parents were there for every game and his dad for every practice. Don admits he really didn't have a great high school football career. He was really more known as a star basketball player in Western New York. Don's athletic career was put on hold at the most inopportune time. In the first quarter of the first game of his senior year, Don broke his passing hand in 2 places and missed his entire year of senior football. Needless to say, there were no Division I scholarships. Don didn't let that slow him down. His parents sold his car and sent him off for a 1-year stint at Fort Union Military Academy in Virginia. And it was very much like the military. Don picked up right where he left off, became the MVP in both football and in track. Years later, he was inducted into the Fort Union Military Hall of Fame. After 1 year at Fork Union, Don received a full scholarship to the University of Virginia, where he didn't waste any time. Don became the school's all-time passing leader and took the school to its first bowl game ever, to beat Purdue in the Peach Bowl. But once again, Don was thrown another obstacle. In the third game of his senior year, he separated his passing shoulder, missing most of the rest of the season. His quarterback rating plummeted. His hopes for being drafted early were now slim. Meanwhile, back in Green Bay, loyal Packer fans were praying. It had been about 20 years since the glory days, with only 2 playoff attempts to speak of. If God would only send the Packers a spark, someone to believe in. It was at this time I was in my early 20s, having grown up in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. I too was praying to God for a spark. With all of my girlfriends getting married around me, I was praying for someone to come along in my life. Someone to believe in. And of course, like everyone else in Wisconsin, I was praying for the Packers on Sundays. Then it happened. God answered those prayers in the 10th round of the 1987 draft with a quarterback from the University of Virginia, Don Majkowski. Don was much different than any Packer I had seen growing up. He was tall, confident, flashy, blue eyes, golden hair. Well, sometimes it was orange, but oddly enough, I didn't seem to care. We met in February of 1989, one day before his 25th birthday, before he had become the Magic Man. I felt that spark, and that year, so did Wisconsin.
Cold late nights so long ago, when I was not so strong, you know. Good man came to me, never seen eyes so blue, you know. I could not run away, it seemed. We'd seen each other in a dream. Seemed like he knew me, he looked right through me, yeah.
There was something about Don Majkowski. He had a confidence, a cockiness that made us all respect him as a player. He had an unmistakable flair about him. Even the way he ran out onto the field gave us hope. And of course, he had that keen ability to escape from small places magically. He won our hearts, and we had a blast. Being the girlfriend of a Green Bay Packer quarterback was very exciting. The team was very close. They were like a family. We went to dinners together. We spent holidays together. The team gathered together at Don's after every game. There was a great camaraderie between Don and his teammates. Being Don's girlfriend, I didn't enjoy watching him get sacked on Sundays. Except maybe a few times. Like when that occasional girl would show up at the game claiming she was Don's girlfriend. Or when Don was asked on national television if there was someone special in his life, his answer was no. And of course, the one I just can't forget, the time Don asked me to meet him up at a Packer golf tournament in my hometown, and then shows up with a swimsuit model. I'm so glad we were able to work through all that. We were worth it. Now, if you could take the feeling you got every time you saw Don do something magical, the feeling you had every time we won a game in the last seconds, or heard those immortal words, "We have a reversal," and put them all together, that would almost add up to the feelings Don is experiencing by being inducted into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. So just where does Don Majkowski fit into the history of the most loved franchise in the history of the NFL? I know I'm your wife, Don, and I love you, but I am also a cheesehead and a Packer fan. What you brought Green Bay is that spark. You brought back the one key element we had been missing. You gave us that feeling in our hearts that is still with us today. You made us believe. You made us believe in magic.
Each day I live, I want to be a day to give the best of me. I'm only one, but not alone. My finest day is yet unknown. I broke my heart for every gain, to taste the sweet, I face the pain. I rise and fall, yet through it all, this much remains. I want one moment in the time when I'm more than I thought I could be, when all of my dreams are hurried away and the answers are all up to me. Give me one moment in time when I'm racing with destiny. Then in that one moment of time, I will be
Kelly Majkowski. Wow. Thank you so much, Kelly. I'll tell you right now who has the toughest job. The man that's got to follow that. If you read the Packer Report or the Packers Yearbook, you'll likely recognize the name Tom Andrews. He writes for both publications. Tom is also the president of Andrews Media Ventures, and tonight he has the honor of presenting Don Majkowski for induction into the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame. Tom Andrews.
You thought you had a tough job, Kelly. Just want to say, first of all, thank you, Kelly, for making my job even harder. Thank you very much. How about that for Kelly Majkowski? One more time. Packer fans live and die with this team, and I think they are as qualified as anybody to tell you when a player is truly special, like the two gentlemen we are here to honor this evening. Special players bring out the very best in their teammates. They lead by example. They lead with raw athleticism. They lead with passion and heart. Well, Donald Vincent Majkowski was one of those guys. When I think about Don Majkowski, I think really one word: exciting. You remember all the eye black and that long blonde hair coming out the back of the helmet and the white shoes? This guy was absolutely electric, and he gave Packer fans something to cheer about after some pretty dreary years. Simply put, This man they did not call Magic for nothing. He restored some pride to the Green Bay Packer organization. Now, I don't need to go through all of his high school attributes because Kelly covered most of that, but he was a standout right from the get-go at Depew. But let me share one thing with you that she didn't, that maybe gives you a little better idea of what kind of athlete he was. This guy was a 6'11" high jumper. You don't see that kind of athleticism every day in a quarterback position. At the University of Virginia, Don had the tough break we talked about in his senior year. Prevented him from getting that chance to be drafted perhaps in the first round, or at least in the second round. Well, he ended up getting drafted in the 10th round. And frankly, by the time Don got to Green Bay, I think in tow he had a chip on his shoulder. And I'm going to let him elaborate on that a little bit. Let me go back again through some of those numbers in case you didn't catch them because you were wiping the tears away in Kelly's video. He played 68 games for the Green Bay Packers. He completed 889 passes for 10,870 yards, 66 touchdowns. He finished his Packer career as Green Bay's 5th leading passer of all time. An elusive runner, Don also rushed 199 times for 1,037 yards and 9 more touchdowns. And what do you say about 1989? Magic led the Packers to 10 victories that season, their most in 17 years, including a record 4 games by 1 point. He passed for 4,318 yards, 6 300-yard passing games, 27 touchdowns, named to the Pro Bowl, named to the All-Madden team, and he finished second to Joe Montana in the running for NFL Most Valuable Player. And of course, how great was it to beat the Chicago Bears? They had beaten the Packers 8 straight times. And not only does he beat the Bears, he beats them in dramatic, Magic fashion. I mean, I thought that was just the greatest thing. We see all these great enduring images, especially the referee, signaling and Don jumping in the lineman's hands. I'll tell you one enduring image for me that'll last forever. It's Mike Ditka standing on his sidelines with his hands crossed against his chest, looking like he swallowed the biggest pickle Wisconsin ever grew. I thought that was a Packer moment. Last year, the day before, the home opener against the Bears, Don had an autograph session, and I happened to be with him. It was in a Green Bay shopping mall. The line was stretched out all the way from the table out into the hallway, into the mall itself. And I happened to look up, and I saw making her way slowly to the front an elderly woman, sweet elderly woman. And as she got closer, I noticed she was wearing a Chicago Bears sweatshirt. Okay, this is going to be good. She comes all the way to the front, and she's looking very nice and sweet. And Don's a cool guy. He's very congenial. He looks up and he says, "Hi, how are you?" And she said, "You are over the line!" It's a true story, man. These Bear fans, the Bear fans cannot give it up. Well, for the past 2 years, I've had the privilege of getting to know Don on a personal level and working with him as a business associate. And I got to tell you, this is one great guy. He is a great person, and I couldn't be happier for him. He is a stand-up guy. His word is good, and in the business world, the integrity beats all. So what is Magic's legacy? Where exactly is his place in Packer history? I thought about that because I wanted to make sure I get it right. Magic did not play for a Super Bowl team. Magic did not get a chance to play in even the playoffs. But I think you really cannot measure Don Majkowski's value to this franchise in statistics alone. He was a guy who made us all believe again. This is a guy who, along with his teammates, they built a bridge. They were the bridge from years and years of hard times to the teams that followed shortly after and brought these trophies back to Green Bay. For that, Packer fans everywhere salute Don Majkowski tonight. And so it is now my distinct pleasure to present for induction into the Green Bay Packer Hall of Fame a man I am proud to call my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Magic Man, Don Majkowski.
Don Majkowski, the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, congratulates you on your induction into the Hall. We are delighted to present you with this plaque and ring which commemorate your induction. Congratulations.
Thank you, Tom, Mike. You know, it's always great to come back home to Green Bay, but what can you say about tonight? This is unbelievable. Wow. You know, everyone in here knows the history of the Green Bay Packers, but I'd still like to take this time to acknowledge all the great coaches and players who made this franchise what it is today, the greatest franchise in NFL history. I'm talking about guys like Curly Lambeau and his 6 world championship teams, featuring guys like the immortal Don Hudson, Clark Hinkle, and the late great Tony Canadeo. And of course, there were the fabulous teams of Vince Lombardi in the 1960s, winning 5 world championships in 7 years, including the first 2 Super Bowls. And we'll never forget all the great players like Bart Starr, Paul Hornung, Forrest Gregg, Ray Nitschke, Gary Knaffel, Ron Kramer, Jerry Kramer, and of course my dear friend who I know is here tonight, Fuzzy Thurston. You know, the list goes on and on. And let's not forget all the great players who gave their all but didn't get a chance to play on championship teams. Guys like John Anderson, Mark Murphy, Lynn Dickey. Thanks for paving the way for guys like me and for making being a Green Bay Packer so special. For me to now be included with all those past great players as a member of the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame is an honor that words just can't describe. Words just can't describe how blessed and appreciative and proud I feel to be included into this elite family. I want to also take this time to thank Mike Gage, Denny Tatum, and the entire Packer Hall of Fame for deeming me worthy of this honor. And I would also like to acknowledge and thank Gwen Borga for all their great behind-the-scenes work that she did for me this year. And how about that video tribute by my wife? Kelly, I can't tell you how proud I am for you for making that for me tonight and making this so special. I know all the time and energy it took for you to make that happen, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know, you're the most selfless, caring, loving person that I know, and I'm the luckiest man in the world to be able to have you as my wife. Thank you. You know, I'll never forget coming to Green Bay in 1987, and when I was pulling into town, I drove by and I saw a sign that said Pulaski. And I knew I was in the right place. You know, to be honest though, I did arrive in Green Bay with a bit of a chip on my shoulder. You know, I had not earned the reputation of being a great passing quarterback coming out of high school and college. You saw the videos and saw the setbacks, but you have to play the cards that you're dealt. And I didn't get drafted until the 10th round, so when I got here in Green Bay, I was very eager to prove myself and show Green Bay the talent that they really got. In Green Bay, I felt I could finally showcase all my passing skills and all my other abilities. And I like to think Packer fans appreciated all my abilities and the style of play that I brought to the quarterback position. I was a little bit more athletic. I could scramble, throw on a run, make a lot of things happen out of nothing, and not to mention a very different hairstyle. Wow. Who was that guy's barber? I want to put a warrant out for his arrest. But as you know, I get back to Wisconsin quite a bit these days, and when I come across Packer fans, the most common compliment or the most friendly thing everybody says to me is they congratulate me and say, Magic, thank you for being a part of bringing back the excitement to the Green Bay Packers in the late 80s and the early 90s. And you're one of the main reasons that I got excited to watch Packer football again on Sundays. You gave us hope, and you just were a joy to watch. And you know what? If that's going to be my legacy, and that's what I'm going to be known best for here in Green Bay, then I can live with that. And we did have some exciting games, didn't we? And we had some exciting players too, guys like Brian Noble and Timmy Harris, Chuck Cecil, and of course Sterling Sharp. And of course, the 1987 is the season we all like to remember, having 4 one-point victories and coming from behind in all those games. And we won 7 of our last games. And just to touch on a few highlights from my perspective from that year, the second game of the season, we played the New Orleans Saints in Lambeau Field. We fell behind 24-3 at halftime. And we eventually came back to win that game 35-34 on a last-second touchdown pass to Sterling Sharp. In the second half, had one of my best games. I had a streak of 18 consecutive completions in a row, including overcoming a 4th and 17 to Jeff Query, which kept the final last-second drive alive. That was the first of all the comebacks that year. It was a great memory in my book. Beating the San Francisco 49ers in Candlestick Park. The year the 49ers went 14-2 in the regular season and eventually went on to win the Super Bowl. I had the opportunity to play against one of my idols growing up, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Joe Montana, and go head-to-head against him. And Coach Holmgren, I know you were the offensive coordinator for that team that year, and I'm sincerely not trying to rub this in. That was a huge thrill for our organization. And of course, we beat the Chicago Bears twice that year. Which obviously leads to my defining moment as a Green Bay Packer, the instant replay game. Why that game had so much significance, and Tom touched on it a little bit, but Packer fans were so hungry for a win. We hadn't beaten the Bears in 8 games, 4 years. And the Bears were so dominating in the mid-'80s, and they had a heck of a lot of talent. And their roster was like a cast of Hollywood characters, including their head coach. And we were starving for a win. But it's how this game unfolded on November 5th, 1989, that made it so memorable. And if I can take you through that final quarter from my perspective, how it unfolded, I'd like to share that with you. As y'all know, we were down in the fourth quarter, 14-7, down by 6 points. And in the fourth quarter, early in the fourth quarter, we had the ball on our own 20-yard line, and we made a great drive, went all the way down the field, got to the Bears' 20-yard line, and all of a sudden, one of their defenders came in, they sacked me, I fumbled the ball, they recovered it, stalled our drive. We held them, they punted, we got the ball back a second time in the fourth quarter, back in our own 20-yard line, deep in our own territory again. And we had another great, impressive drive all the way down to the Bears' 20-yard line, once again in scoring territory. Unfortunately, I rolled out one time on a play-action pass, and I forced a pass, and I threw an interception with only a few minutes remaining. And I started to hear the fans rumble with disgust. And I walked off the field with disgust. My head was down. And I'll never forget, Lindy Infante was our coach at the time. Lindy grabbed me by the face mask, and he said, "Magic, please keep your head up. You're still going to be the hero of this game." That's all I needed to hear. And fortunately, we did get the ball back with just about 2 minutes remaining. Back once again, deep inside our 20-yard line. We had another impressive drive, got all the way down inside the Bears' 10-yard line this time. First down, we got stuffed. Second down, we got stuffed. Third down, we had a holding penalty. Eventually, we were faced with a 4th and 14, and we weren't able to get a first down, so we had to get a touchdown in order to win this game with like 32 seconds to go. And I'll never forget being in a huddle and talking to the guys and saying, "Guys, it doesn't get much more crunch time than this." And I said, "Who's going to make a play?" And of course, who, with his big teeth, smiles at me. Sterling Sharp says, "Give me the ball, I'll make the play." Of course. So I remember getting the play in from the sideline, and we were expecting the Bears to be in a real tight man-to-man coverage and come with an all-out blitz. So what we did, we had a four receivers split wide. We had Sterling Sharp split it all the way out left. And we called a short 6-yard slant route, which was a great call versus man-to-man. We were hoping to get the ball to Sterling quick. Maybe he could break a tackle, get it into the end zone. So we called the play, and I remember coming to the line of scrimmage. I was in a shotgun formation, and as I got the snap from center, the Bears did exactly opposite of what we thought, and they dropped off into a deep zone, and we were up the creek. 6-yard slant route was not a very good play, so I remember saying, "I have to get out of the pocket, make something happen, use your ability, this is the time to do it." So I got out of the pocket, immediately got off the slant route, was scrambling around for my life, and I could, out of the corner of my eye, see Sterling Sharp making his way all the way in the back of the left side of the end zone, and as I was running towards our sideline. I cocked the ball once, getting ready to throw it to him. I thought he was open at one time. The defense converged on him. I recoiled, kept on running towards the sideline, getting really close to the sideline and really close to the line of scrimmage. And I remember after I recoiled, I finally threw the ball clearly on the 15-yard line, a yard behind the line of scrimmage, and threw what we thought was going to be the winning touchdown pass. The crowd went nuts. We thought we had finally beaten the Bears. Lo and behold, you know the story. We see a flag. The referee says I was over the line of scrimmage. And they had the instant replay implemented that year. In 1989 was the first year, so they wanted to take this to the replay. And I remember standing next to the official, kind of acting cool, waiting for the call. And 4 minutes go by, and Mike Singletary comes walking over to me, all cocky, and he says, you know, that was a great play, Mazzy, but you still can't beat us. Too bad, you know, something of that nature. And I said, it ain't over yet, Mike. It's not over yet. And eventually, after 4 minutes, Packer fans were on the edge of their seat. The call came down to the official, and all you could hear was him say, after further review, we have a reversal, and the place went nuts. That was a great moment, and I'm very proud to be remembered for that game. Unfortunately, we didn't make the playoffs that year, but you know what? The team knew deep down that we really had a great year and that things were really beginning to turn around for this team. And before I wrap this up, please bear with me because I've got quite a list of people that I'd like to acknowledge and thank, and these are some people that I want to give special thanks for their contributions during my career. First, I'd like to thank all my coaches ever since Little League through high school, in college, my quarterback coach at the University of Virginia, Tom Sherman, my quarterback and head coach, Lindy Infante, who really was instrumental in developing me into a professional quarterback and really teaching me, in his words, how to become more of a manipulator than a gunslinger. I also want to thank Coach Mike Holmgren. Mike, I know I didn't get a chance to play for you very long because of injury, but I certainly appreciated your guidance. I took away some valuable teaching. To my offensive line, without those guys, quarterback is nothing. And I want to thank a lot of the guys that I played with: Kenny Rutgers, Ron Hallstrom, Blair Bush, Jimmy Campen, who's behind sweated more as a center than any center I ever played with. Oh. I used to make him change his pants after warm-ups. Seriously. Rich Moran, Keith Euchre, Alan Weingrad, and a lot of other guys that if I missed you, please forgive me. There's also, I want to thank a lot of people in the Packer organization that were a part of my everyday life, and there's quite a list, but there were very important people that I want to acknowledge. And it starts with some of the equipment managers, the late Bob Knoll, Jackie Knoll, Brian Nearing, the medical staff, head trainer, the late Dominic Gentili, Kurt Fielding, Larry Lemberger, Doc Brusky, and Pat McKenzie, Mark Wagner and everybody in the ticket office, Lee Rimmel, Jeff Blum, Mark Schiefelbein, who was an intern at the time, Shirley Leonard, for all their help, then and now in the media relations. Our video guys, Al Tremmel and Bob Eckberg, my security guards, Matt and Jerry Perrins, all of our secretaries, John Fabry. And I'd like to thank Brett Favre for having the type of career that he's had. Because believe it or not, quarterbacks have a little bit of an ego. Seriously, we do. We do. And to know that I lost my starting quarterback job to a guy who's going to go down in history as probably one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever play is a lot easier on my ego. I'd like to also acknowledge last year's Hall of Fame inductee, Bob Harlan. Bob, congratulations. You did such an unbelievable job in spearheading this project of Lambeau Field. Is this unbelievable or what? Special thanks to my business associate, Michael Bechtel, and of course, Tom Andrews. These guys are really helping me make that transition into my second career in the media world as an NFL analyst. Thank you. My wife's side of the family and friends. Thank you for all your years of love and support. All my high school buddies who traveled all the way from Buffalo, thank you. My best friend Mark, thanks Mark for being here. My brother Gary, who never showed an ounce of jealousy throughout my career and was my greatest fan, thank you, Gary. My parents who are here tonight, the greatest parents a son could ever have. You guys supported me in everything I did when I was little, and we had a blast. They were at every game that I went to, and I know my father rarely missed a practice. So, guys, thank you for being such wonderful parents. And if I could be half the parent to my kids that you guys were to me, they'll be in good shape. And to my 2 children, Danielle, who's 9, some of you met her at Summerfest, and to my son, Bo Cannon. His middle name is Cannon, just in case. A marketing wheel was working way before he was born. I hope you two enjoyed sharing this unbelievable night with Dad tonight, and maybe now you believe all those boring stories when I told you how good I was. And finally, thank you to the Green Bay Packer fans, who obviously we don't really need to mention again, but you are the greatest fans in the NFL. It's unbelievable how you put us players on such a pedestal when we're actively playing here. And even when we retire and we come back to town, your allegiance to the team is just second to none. I'm so appreciative and proud to be associated with this organization and you as fans. Thank you for all your support and love. You're unbelievable. I also just want to thank, I know there's probably a lot of teammates that did come here tonight. I know Paul Lott, you're here, and a lot of other friends who made the journey. Thank you very much for coming here and sharing this with me. And finally, I just want to say, before I say goodnight, just want to say thank you one more time to the Hall of Fame. My family and I will cherish this honor forever. Thank you very much.
Don, congratulations, and welcome to the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame.